You could give away nothing
Yeah.
ever. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the company you build.
Who the hell was the one that bought Tint Wiz then?
When somebody says, I asked for this 3 months ago, where is it? What happens if 1,300 people ask for other things?
So we started off by getting triages made.
Obviously that prompted the acquisition.
Now, being part of a team, ideas are brought to me. Requests are made of me. And as an entrepreneur, I like that. I like that excitement, uncertainty, growth.
Big news, breaking news, Tint Wiz was acquired by a much bigger company. But before we get into the details of the acquisition, how did Tint Wiz start from the very beginning? Because it didn't start as a CRM company. It started as a solution to a retail business, Window Tint LA. What was your role in the creation of it, and what sparked its initial, like, we need something?
So 12 years ago, Window Tint LA was born. It wasn't the beginning of my journey in window film, but it was the beginning of Window Tint LA and what prompted Tint Wiz to be born. So 2014, David Serro and myself and Neil Caro, our third partner, we opened Window Tint LA. And David had been doing window tinting in Florida for a decade prior to that, and I had been involved in that company for a couple of years. So when I had moved out to LA, it seemed to make sense. Why not open a window tint company and see how it goes? I had a marketing company at the time, and it was an easy lift. So started that tint company in 2014, grew to 350,000 our first partial year. Second year, we were on pace for $1 million, and we needed to build our own system because there was nothing that made sense for window tinting, meaning there was tons of complicated solutions, and there were solutions that were too simple, but there was nothing in between. So there was nothing that fit the workflow of window tinting, like scheduling a consultation and needing to go somewhere for that consultation, and then taking measurements and be able to provide a quote on the spot, and follow through all the way to invoice and good review. There wasn't an easy system, and I knew at the pace we were growing, we needed to be able to support that because the systems we had in place, the wheels would fall off at a higher frequencies, higher volume.
Yeah,
exactly. So we started building in 2015. We did $1 million that year. 2016, we did 2.3. 2017, we did about 3. 2018, we sold the company, and we sold them to American Window Film, which was prior known as Solar Art.
Yeah.
They were a company based out of Southern California. They had been there for about 30 years, and Matt DeLorenzo, CEO, he had acquired the company, grew the company, and his method of growth was acquisition. We came in his backyard. We put up a really strong fight, and he decided to buy us to see how we were doing what we were doing. And that was then, that led to a year of taking what we did with Tint CRM and saying, this is going to be something that we're going to build for everybody to use, called Tint Wiz. And that was basically middle of 2019, it hit the App Store. 2020, we started telling people about it.
So when Tint CRM was the name before it was Tint Wiz,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't part of the acquisition process originally whenever Window Tint LA got bought out, right? So
Right.
that wasn't packaged in there.
Right.
That was separate. And then you grew that into, repackaged it as Tint Wiz and keep growing it.
So what sparked that
Yeah.
is the 80-20 principle. It's just a concept that 20% of your efforts are producing 80% of the results. That's the way to think about it, right? So there's a lot of things you're doing that aren't producing the results, and there's a core, and what do you love doing, right? And if you could just do what you love. And I was looking at my day going, 99% of my time is going to operations of this business, and 1% is going to furthering the development of the software, which is such an important part of this business and creates so much magic. And I thought, what if I could separate the two and I could spend more time, all my time, on the software, and instead of me also owning the operations is owned by the users. The users of the software handle the operations. My part will be the software only. I just wanted to focus on the software, and instead of owning the business is owned by all the users. If that makes sense.
When you were building this in the beginning, did you see the software as being something part of the company that would live outside of it, or how was that mindset when you were originally crafting the CRM system itself within the business? Because you were building it as you went to fix an actual problem with Window Tint LA, and then obviously that helped a lot to scale it upwards, and you were having these, more than doubling sales every year, it seems like, right?
Yep.
In the beginning stages of it, where did you start first with what became Tint Wiz? What was the first thing that you went to, and this is what it needs to solve?
Right, so Tint Wiz was literally built not to be a software that was sold or outside. It was simply, we need something to solve our biggest problems, right? I needed to scale that business, and we need to make as much money as possible, and that will only come by solving our biggest problems first, and that first problem was efficient scheduling for the flat glass side of things, because operating in Southern California, if you schedule somebody from, it could be 3 miles, and at the wrong time, it could be an hour and a half or 2 hours, and at the right time, it could be 30 minutes. So being able to lump in different salespeople and installers near where they live and near where they're going to be, and jobs together, was our first thing. It also helped our admins be able to answer the phone, get somebody scheduled in a knowledgeable way, and move on to the next customer quickly and efficiently, which meant they could produce more too, right? So instead of needing 3 to handle the volume, 1 could, because they're doing it 3 times faster. So that was the idea, and that was the first feature, and we built it out from there, right? So we needed to know when they arrived, when they left. We needed the picture somewhere. We needed them to be able to create a quote on site and not make it homework for after work, and so on. So we just built it, biggest solution to our problem first.
So it's a centralized area where people can contribute to the overall project and the flow of that project, from lead capture to sales to execution, operations, and then invoicing. Was invoicing part of it too in the beginning?
Invoice was part of it, and the concept, I mean, it got built out further in Tint Wiz. Invoice was always a part, and it was a part in CRM. But to your point, the CRM is like the home of the business. It's the house. It's the overall thing. And most people think of themselves as the business, right? I'm the business owner. And when people have a question or people need to do something, they interact with the owner in a lot of cases, and window film and so on. And what the CRM does is the CRM is the business. The CRM is the owner of the business and the brain, right? And anybody interact, whether it's the owner or the lowest level, newest person, they're interacting with the CRM. It's the hub. Right? So I'm accountable to the CRM. If there's an appointment, that's where I see it. If there's a note, that's where I put it. And that's where we communicate. So it's a centralized location.
One question about that. If you didn't have the CRM when you were building Window Tint LA, what advantages or disadvantages, like if you took the CRM part of it out, how successful would you have been with that organization?
So we would have killed it no matter what. But, okay, I would have killed it no matter what. I promise you, we could have been using rocks. But with that said,
hieroglyphics,
it doesn't matter, because I mean,
he's going to be etching it.
Look, my point is, I was focused on what's going to move the needle. What do we need to do?
Yeah.
And we were ignoring all the other things that didn't. So look, I'm a web guy, right? But we didn't rebuild our website one single time in the entire time. We never redesigned the website. It was the original logo that we paid pennies for. It was the original website that we outsourced overseas that just was a basic website. All we did was add content, because if we were going to have time to invest in something, it was going to be doing it in the content that brings traffic to the website, not making it from a blue to a lighter blue to a shinier blue to adding orange. That doesn't move the needle at all. We didn't redesign business cards. We focused, and that's why that CRM, like to your point, what advantages or disadvantages? One of our major advantage for flat glass was we could get you scheduled quickly without any frustration. And when you called back, we knew who you were and we knew everything about your project, which changed the game. When we went out for a sales call, we could get out there quickly and efficiently, and we can give you the price on the spot, not hours later, whatever. And speed to lead, speed to quote, speed to everything, and a smooth process kills it. It's everything.
I'm assuming this is before there was a lot of CRM, even before CRMs entered the conversation in our industry, right? What was your perspective? If you noticed, I don't know if you paid attention to maybe your competitors, but obviously they weren't probably working with that, because a lot of times people nowadays still work off of a notebook and paper. What is the difference to someone who's watching from the outside, understanding the role of a CRM in a business? How did you feel that gave you the advantage over the next guys that were coming in? Like, speak a little bit about, go back to an average day when you were running Window Tint LA and you guys had a CRM app competing against everybody else. What was that difference like?
Yeah, so first of all, the concept of needing a CRM in this industry came from outside the industry, right? So CRMs were introduced to me when I was in college, and I was involved in call centers, owning and operating call centers. And the important things that I drew from that experience were the need for a CRM, because it was high volume, you need to know the people's information. But it was also the idea of a system, right? So in the call center, the phone call starts with a person who reads a script. And then it moves to a separate person that's a salesperson, and they basically have a script. And then it moves entered into the CRM if it turns into a customer, and then they have admin. So this idea that there should be an admin that kind of handles things,
and we need a CRM as a central location, and that anybody can do a tough job if you give them a script to say and a concept and a simple process. Talk to people, say this. If they say this, you say that. If they say this, you say that. Give them script and rebuttals and let them do their thing. So the CRM gave us the advantage that we could hire people from outside the industry to answer the phone. Yeah. They knew what to say. They sounded intelligent. They sounded knowledgeable. We could hire salespeople that were Uber drivers and from anything, and they have no knowledge in the industry, but they can go out and they can say, I'll put the measurements in here. I'll select the film. I'll put the price or the prices are in there. I'll hand them the packet and I'll explain what I know. And I'm going to be levels above everybody else. And what happens is then after that, we are not losing the quote. We're not waiting to see if the salesperson sends the quote to the customer. Everything had a system and a time so we could track it all the way across, which meant we went from lead to positive review very smoothly, and then we could say, do it faster, do it more, get another person to do it, get another person, just, that's it. Keep it simple and keep it scalable. That's what we did.
That's the one word that comes to mind is the scalability of things. Scalability meaning like obviously the ability to replicate a system without replicating the problems. But I know like in the past, I've seen people that run their businesses when they're naturally they know I need a second location or third location, but really when you're not operating smooth, you just double your problems. And
100%,
so then
that's exactly
it. The Tint CRM was the secret sauce, secret formula that allowed it to scale the growth that it had to in the first couple of years to the point where one of the big dogs said, it's actually cheaper to buy you guys out than keep competing because we're probably getting maybe a little bit beat in our own game, right?
I would say, I think it could be said very well that we had a very strong advantage of them and they were feeling our presence. And yeah, they came along not only to make us stop, but also to see how we were doing it.
Obviously that prompted the acquisition. An offer was made. You know, you guys sold Window Tint LA, right? What did you guys sell it for?
If Matt from American Window Film gives me the go-ahead to say, I'll gladly say. So if we can get the go-ahead, tag Matt DeLorenzo. If he gives the go-ahead, I'll publicly say it. But due to contract and respect, I wouldn't want to say it. But I will say that every part of the process with Matt, every part was amazing. And if you are looking to sell your company and maybe have trust issues or you don't want to be taken advantage of, he's somebody that I would say absolutely hit up Matt DeLorenzo. If he doesn't buy your company, he'll give you advice on what to do better.
Tell me a little bit about where it started from when you didn't have the company no more. How did you keep innovating or creating for the system now that you didn't have a business to kind of, in essence, relate to anymore? What was that initial stage when you first sold the company? What was your first thoughts with it?
So my thought with Tint Wiz was we built an incredible system.
Yeah.
I knew that there was a lack of systems out there. And when we had attended dealer meetings, I knew there was a demand for people wanting to get in on whatever we were using. And my thought was, we're going to put it out there. People are going to use it. And whoever uses it. And that's just is what it is. Like, it was just going to be like kind of a passive, recurring revenue model from a system that we built. That was the initial thought. And we put it out there, and we started getting some users in, right? We just kind of people finding us. Like,
when was this, by the way? What year?
So 2019, it hit the App Store.
Okay.
And then we started kind of like in the middle, like July 2019 to be exact. And then by September, we had kind of started putting the bug in. I had hit up Patrick Lapman because he was very prominent on YouTube at the time. And I said, hey, Pat, I watch your videos. You don't know me, but could you take a look at this and maybe you could do like a review on it? And he was like, hey, what's up, Eric? Like, awesome, nice to meet you. I would do a review on it, but I need you to know something up front. If I like it, I'm going to say I like it. If I don't, I'm going to say I don't. And your review might be good or might not be good. And if you're okay with that, I'll do the review, but you have to understand that up front. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And knowing that it might be great and he doesn't like it, and that sucks for me. So anyway, that was kind of the traction. It was a real slow roll. What we didn't want to do is go out there and say, hey, everybody, use this software. Because what I felt was there was everybody was saying, what about the data? How's the data? Maybe you're going to sell the data. Is it protected? Everybody was worried about their data at the time.
That was in the beginning?
That was at the beginning. Not just with Tint Wiz, but prior to Tint Wiz, it just as a general thing. Even talking to manufacturers about the software you're using, the concerns they were constantly bringing is nobody's going to put their info into a software at the time. So knowing that, what I wanted to do is say, we're not going to go out there and tell people to use the software. We're going to put the software out there, and whoever wants to use it will use it. And that's that. And then they'll be the judge and jury for is it good software or not. Because if we go out there and say, you should use this, what often happens is you attract the biggest critics, and then
they weren't maybe going to use it to begin with. They weren't looking. You told them to go look.
Yeah.
Now they're coming and they're giving their opinion.
Yeah.
And so we slow rolled it around 2020. Then COVID hit, right? And when we started, we were doing Zoom calls, and we were getting a lot of kickback at the beginning. When people would say like, hey, I want to learn about the software, we'd say, let's get on a Zoom. They would say, let's get on the phone. I'd said, no, let's get on a Zoom. When COVID hit, everybody said, let's get on a Zoom. And that really helped, because when COVID hit, people were at home. When people were at home, it made a lot more sense that maybe having a software to be able to send quotes and do things, and maybe I'm in front of a computer instead of a car or a window. So COVID really worked in our favor in that sense. And then from there, it was just,
So was it the feedback that you were getting from people that allowed you to keep crafting
Yes.
and sculpting the...
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I had a backlog of things operating Window Tint LA, and then also assisting with Ultimate Window Tinting Groups. I had a backlog of things I knew we needed to do. And so there was that, and then we also had the feedback from our users from day one. There was no shortage of feedback.
That was
which is good.
2019.
2020 is when it really, people started downloading it, using it, providing feedback, and so on.
Before that is when I started. I think I must have gotten certain packages from you for a little bit here and there.
So part of our marketing strategy, right, was like, as a window film dealer, I used to feel underappreciated.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make people know that, like, hey, we're going to invest all of our marketing, all of our energies. Instead of having a sales team, we're just going to put that into showing appreciation and trying to provide value to our users in all different ways. So we started off by getting triages made and just mailing them to shops that use our software, and sometimes shops that didn't, just here and there. Because if somebody was like, I want to use the software, it looks really cool, to me, that's a supporter. I'd want to. So we started sending that stuff out, and then people started posting it. And I started getting really nervous, because I'm like, uh-oh.
Posting what?
So people would receive the tri-edges and the note, and they'd be like, hey, thanks Tint Wiz, and they'd take a picture of it. And be like, thanks so much, this is so cool, I just randomly got these. And my initial thought was, uh-oh, now I'm gonna have to kind of deal with this concept of everyone being like, where's mine? How come I didn't get something? That was my whole
It's tinters, bro.
worry. And then what ended up happening was it went in a complete positive way.
Yeah.
We kept it random, we kept it unpredictable, and we did it at high volume. And then, in retrospect, the narrative became, what a smart marketing move. And it was like, we were just looking to do the right thing by saying, we're not going to spend our money on our non-customers, we're going to spend our money on our customers. Yeah. And then, naturally, it worked out really well.
Which was, at the time, was unheard of. Because you were lucky if you were like a dealer of the year and you got a shirt from your company.
Right.
And then who the hell is this Tint Wiz sending out all this stuff out of nowhere? Suddenly companies had to level it up, and that was to me, that's how I heard of Tint Wiz. Was the first just sending the stuff out, and then for me, my personal journey was you would send things out, and I was like, okay, this is nice. Is he expecting me to do a video in return? I don't know why you sent it to me. There was no expectations.
In return, right?
And so when you kept doing it, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. This is different. A lot of times whenever you're a smaller dealer, you hope for your supplier to just recognize you, just know that you exist.
Following up on what you were saying, you were sending these products out to people without asking for anything in return. In those messages where they ask you, hey, why did you do this? Would you say, oh, maybe promote me, or were you just saying it's all for you?
Yeah, we just say we appreciate you as a customer. That's it. There was no reason, we just appreciate you as a customer, and that's it. We literally would tell them there's no expectation, don't feel pressured to post, and so on. I appreciate when people would post on their own, but I know myself, sometimes I feel uncomfortable, I don't post much, so if somebody's gonna send me something, I'm very thankful. I also may not make a post about it because I just don't do that typically, so I don't want people to feel that expectation, because that's not what it's about.
And do you feel like that organically created a larger audience, or at least appreciation? I recall that when I'd go to events and Tint Wiz was sponsoring and you were giving out slippers, food, everything, it was like, oh, why are you doing this? I can just have this?
Right.
And it was the greatest thing ever to kind of have a hug or to be cared for without the expectation that I had to give you something back. Do you feel like that is the way people should approach things from now on, or is there value in asking for promotions?
I think you have to build your business in a way that you see how you're going to do it and it works for you. So what I mean by that is, with Tint Wiz, I built that into our business, right? I said, instead of having salespeople and instead of doing marketing, we can bundle that in, go deep into this, and we can do it in an authentic way. If it doesn't work out, I wasn't it wasn't a problem, right? Like it was like that was what our company was going to be about. So like Tom's used to have you buy a pair and you donate a pair. It's like a Tom shoe thing. And what happens is people will try to copy that, but they're not authentic in it, right? They're saying, I'm doing this without expectation, but I have expectation. And we did it without expectation, and that worked. And if you can afford to, then yes. But if not, there's nothing wrong with having an expectation and being clear about your expectation. Nothing wrong with that. Plenty of people want to do things in exchange for something. But we wanted to stand out that far different, so we did it with no expectation. No right or wrong way. Just be transparent with your audience and believe in what you're doing and do it. You could give away nothing ever. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just the company you build. You know, but people are uncomfortable doing things different to be different.
It's true.
They want to do what everyone else is doing, but be different.
Well, it takes because difference takes courage, right? I mean, you mentioned it yourself. Like you gave away stuff, and you were a little bit nervous about it at first, and right, and then it worked out.
So,
because you were the only one. I think it's like and like in business, I always say it's really which is true about life. To make it in life or make it in business, you got to be better than or different than, and you were different than, which was a better than strategy. So what ended up happening?
Everybody couldn't believe it. Most of the stuff, if not all of it, pretty much went right away. And it was the talk of the 3 days. Because even the empty booth was spoken about to everybody. Can you believe what Tint Wiz did? I can't believe you guys did that. So,
I remember.
It's like, what are you going to do if everybody takes everything the first day? Talk about it for 2 more days.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It was a shock factor and going in a direction that I think nobody even, like, it's kind of a wacky idea on paper. Hey, we're going to set up a booth with a bunch of merch and just give it away. I don't think anybody, I think traditional corporate style companies would look at that idea and say, well, what's the point? What's the point? And then it took someone like Tint Wiz to do it. So then it became the talk of the entire event. And you're like, that's the point.
And then we started to become known for that. So we leaned into it. Now it's like, what's going on at an event? Go to the Tint Wiz booth because they're going to be giving something away or a competition or something.
It became the attraction. It became it became the attraction to an event that typically doesn't have a lot of attraction.
That's the idea. Well, that was the idea. I had been to the event, right? And I spent 3 days there, but 2 hours walking around feeling like I had something to do.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm not going to, now we're in the opposite side of the table, right? I have a responsibility to make it happen. So that was the mindset.
All right, we'll be back after we get some food because then I want to ask you about once you started Tint Wiz, companies started taking notice with that extra exposure and eyeballs. Clearly, you must have had some offers on the table. I don't know about them, but I know that they must have been there, and I want to know more about where that was and was this acquisition, was that the first offer that you got, or how many offers came before that, and why this one? So we'll be back after that one, after getting some bites here to eat. Squeegee that. All right, and we're back. So Tint Wiz became its own thing after Window Tint LA got sold. I remember in one of the beginning stages, there were people that were concerned. This is before I really got to know you, but I remember there's people that were concerned about their information and their privacy to the information. How did you feel about that, and what was the true story behind the scenes that people probably didn't know?
Yeah, so privacy was an issue before Tint Wiz was even Tint Wiz, where we would speak to manufacturers. They would, we talk about the software, maybe how it could benefit others, and that was always the number one thing that was brought up was like in the industry, people are going to trust putting in their jobs, their bids, their customer information in there. Now, I believe the reason that trust violation existed was because manufacturers were known for going around sometimes, and if they found out that you're bidding on a big job, or if they had your customers' information, warranties, and so on, manufacturers were known to reuse that data sometimes and whatever. That's where that mistrust came from. It's not out of nowhere. Going into it, just going into 2018, 19, when we're discussing how to price and how to do with Tint Wiz, we have to price it in a way that made sense, right? One of those things was like, hey, do we make it free and then we are transparent that the data is being sold, or do we, what do we do? Because there's a freemium model, right? Yeah. Freemium, free, and then premium. There's a free forever model. Google's free forever, Gmail's free forever, right? But what do they do with that data? They retarget you. So it's not like it would be some sort of criminal thought. It was what is the business structure? And how I felt then, now, prior to then and forever, there is no money in window tint data. There's no money in it, none.
What do you mean?
Nobody, it doesn't have any value. It has minimal value. Let's talk about it that way. So what I'm saying is well, okay, why would somebody be afraid of their data being stolen? Well, you're going to know how much they're charging for film. You're going to know who they're giving quotes to. Yeah. You're going to know their volume. Who cares? Who's going to pay money to know what jobs you quoted? And then what are they going to do with that information? And how is that going to last as a long-term thing if it's not transparent? So like the idea is like Core knows how much film you're cutting and everybody else. So does DAP.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers know what film you're ordering. So they can pretty much know what you're bidding on. See what I mean? There's like not really a big incentive. So we looked at ourselves as we're going to be a bank for your information. We're going to make your information extremely secure, completely protected. We'll never have a data breach. And that's it. So that's how we handle data. And I know we've built the trust in the market because it was just never something we put your data away, stored it, never revisited. No one's ever asked us to buy it. Nobody's ever asked us for information. We've never made those offers.
So it was just like a problem that people just,
Yes.
it was like a shadow.
Yeah.
That ultimately really, okay.
Like if I was going to sell anybody's data, if that was part of the plan hypothetically, why wouldn't we just say, hey, it's going to be $100 a month plus we use your data and sell part of that to somebody else? Or we'd say it's going to be $15 a month.
Dude,
or
but
like you just do it as the business. You
like
can't lie about that stuff.
$100 a month was like pretty cheap for CRMs. And like, I mean, some people speculated that maybe the reason why it was a little bit cheaper is because you were selling some of the information and that's how you were able to like maybe afford that. But what was the thought behind $100 a month as opposed to having like, you know, because really what Tint Wiz does is it solves for a lot more than what $100 would really buy you. I mean, there are companies that'll do like different tiers and you get the premium product at like $500 a month. Tint Wiz was $100 a month across the board for so many years. What was the thought process in making it one single price and that's it?
Look,
At least in its initial stages.
there's a lot of different ways we could go about it. And we, in general, try to go with the most simple, easiest to understand way to execute. And that was one price for everybody. And then how much should that price be? Yeah, we could charge more as you get bigger. But then what that typically leads to is now you're more beholden to those bigger customers, which might not be good for your business. And then there's the opposite angle if you say, well, like when's the best time to start using Tint Wiz? Well, ideally it would be day one of your business, like if we could just pick. So I don't want to be outpriced from day one of our business. And certainly we could have tiers, right, to make sense. But then what happens is you have businesses who say, I'll save $30 I need to save $30, but they miss out on features that are critical features for their business.
For the growth.
So so I didn't want to make you have to make a decision, what do I need, what do I pay for? You need it all. You need the positive review at the end. You need the invoicing. You need the quoting. There's nothing you don't need in there. So one price and so on. And to your point about it's been a while at that price. That was our initial price. We never raised the price it's been 7 years, right?
Pre-COVID, right?
Pre-COVID.
Tint Wiz
2019, we launched it at $100 and we didn't raise the price. Now, again, part of that was going, as we raise the price, if we raise the price, there's going to be entry-level tinters that then feel like it's gone away. At the same point, not raising the prices held us from having the resources to be able to do a lot of things that we could have done to improve the software. So there's a two-sided aspect of that. There is no right or wrong answer, but that's the one we chose to roll with.
So, so to understand it, in the beginning, you wanted to price it in a way where it puts it in everybody's hands, but a challenge to that was that you could have been charging a little bit more, which might have slowed down perhaps the growth in the features and things of that nature, right? So that's kind of a pros and cons of the pricing structure there. Now, whenever in 2019, right, people started getting packages in the mail. What is Tint Wiz? Oh, this is Tint Wiz. It's like, okay, you started getting a lot more success. You ended up getting with people that had like, a notorious face, a notorious name, influencers as some would call it. You started to have that momentum going into it. Clearly you got a lot of people's attention when we started going to shows, and suddenly it's just like, who is this company that's just giving everything away for free? That perception that it was like, man, they must have it going on. You don't get that kind of attention unless you get other people that also come to the table and saying, hey, what is this? And maybe I want to buy Tint Wiz. What are you selling it for? You had to have offers along the way. Yeah?
Yeah.
Confirmed?
Oh, yeah. We had offers along the way from inside the industry, outside the industry.
And this is before the acquisition.
So the first trade show we were at,
Yeah.
I was pulled aside from a meeting. I probably shouldn't say who, but I was pulled aside from that first trade show in Orlando to have a nice long meeting about a partnership. It wasn't an acquisition offer, but it was like, hey, these people are very interested in talking to you, moving forward, working something out. And that was one of many, not in any way to be braggy, but like there was a lot of interest in Tint Wiz. And I think a lot of people's fears were that we were going to grow really quick and just sell. and it was going to be great and then horrible. And you were going to be maybe an Expel dealer or an Eastman dealer, and then once we sold, the new people would force you into their way. And like there was this like internal thing. And then outside the industry, we had no shortage. I mean, you know how many emails you get about SEO offers for like what they can do to your rankings?
Oh yeah.
That's how many offers.
#1 page.
That's what we get for, and not because it's us. I think it's basically anybody in the space would get offers for investment from everything you can imagine. Now, a lot of those investments are, we want to put in $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and be part owner with you, and we want to maybe have control because we've given you this money, and we need to make it, see how we're going to now make 50 million. They just simply as that. Like we give you 5, and then we need to know how we're going to get 20 or 30. And they say, you know, basically what it is we have gasoline, they have gasoline, and I have a fire, and they're saying, let's make this fire big. It can go really well and keep us warm, or you could burn yourself to death. But we're going to find out, and this is what we do for a living. It's that kind of like all-in type of thing that happens a lot in technology and growth. So there was those type of people. Basically, everybody comes in, and part of it is screening and understand what is their intention, what is their plan, and finding the right partner for the company, essentially.
Yeah.
Because when you mention the pricing, and overall, the reality is
speaking of gasoline, looks like we got some human gasoline fuel.
So let's talk about pricing really quick.
Yeah.
One of the biggest misunderstandings is people will say, well, you have a huge profit margin. You've got a huge margin in software. And like, that's not the reality.
But why do people think that though?
Because they imagine what their experience is when building a website. And they're going to build the website, then they're going to pay a minimal amount of money every month to host it, and then millions of people can view their website. It's just like nothing. It's like, look, I built it once, and that's how it works. And that's the concept, right? And like, that's not at all how it works. Like, not even close. And then you're basically in an industry that it takes 100 times more money to build it and to get anywhere than the money you're bringing in, no matter what, which is why there's terms such as a run rate or a burn rate, how much money you're burning. That's why companies typically get such big investments, your fancy numbers. So ShopMonkey started a year prior to us. ShopMonkey has had over $130 million invested from outside investment that's publicly mentioned. Now, we are in many ways a lot better than ShopMonkey. If you're in the window film industry, no question. I've also,
Give me some examples.
Sure.
Let's go fire some shots.
Sure. So if you're like, let's talk from support, because that's what we hear about most. In support, when we have people switching over from ShopMonkey, we hear about the problems that they have with their QuickBooks integration. Now, that's a problem, frankly, that's kind of QuickBooks' issue that we, as a small team, were able to fix. And as a big team, we've heard they still haven't fixed that, some glitches that happen in QuickBooks. There's the live chat in Tint Wiz. So you need to talk about, you have a question, whatever, you're in live chat, versus potentially a ticket system where weeks and months go back. When you're speaking to somebody in Tint Wiz, you're speaking to the developer, the actual developer. He's still with us because he was a co-founder and he's still with us after the acquisition. You're speaking to the person who knows Tint Wiz more than anybody else, not a team of people remotely in the country or outside of the country that have been trained for 3 months and are just answering questions. So what I'm saying is, like, we're able to provide a better experience and a software that's specific to Tint Wiz, to tinters, that's faster, that has better support, and feature specific to their business. And they had $130 more million. Now, they're also in a bigger market, they're focused on more things and so on. But what my point simply is people think it's a very profitable business. It's not. It's one that you hemorrhage money. It's one that we couldn't have pulled off like we did if I wouldn't have sold Window Tint LA and had the financial runway to be able to do it. So when we were able to price that way, when we were able to show up at conventions the way we did it because I didn't need the money. Because I had money.
You already had.
Yeah.
Like you had a cash injection from the previous company that was so successful because of what became Tint Wiz, but that funded the initial development of Tint Wiz, which allowed it to get priced at a very competitive rate for the features that you were getting for it. We mentioned a little bit about like offers that people came to you that wanted to partner or perhaps invest or perhaps buy out. Recently why were some of those ones that you didn't pursue? Like, what were some of the reasons that you turned down some offers? And did it not fit the picture long term? Was it not, like, what was it that North Star in those decisions or in those conversations that say, not this one, but I'll take this one?
It was what was going to happen to the company after. So I did not want it to go to a film company because I know what's going to happen when it goes to a film company.
What happens?
Their intention will be to mine the data and then over time push people into their film brand. That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be a matter of how long and whatever. But it's going to be
it's kind of like predatorial in a way.
I mean, it's business. I don't
yeah.
feel like they're doing anything wrong, but I just feel like I have a duty to the users. And if you're a Solar FX dealer and you hear that XPEL bought Tint Wiz hypothetically, that's going to make you worried as a Solar FX dealer. And then when the price goes up and they say you have to buy our film, you're going to be like, well, now what? And as Solar FX that said, my dealer should use Tint Wiz, now he goes, you know, Sean might go, I'm a little concerned about my dealers using Tint Wiz if they sold to a manufacturer that's not there. So I felt like that was not going to be a good choice because I have an obligation to myself, the company as a living, breathing entity of its own that I work for, and then an obligation to the users.
So,
you know?
So without saying it, you basically said there were film companies that then did want to get involved or want to buy Tint Wiz. Is that what you're confirming?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Along the way, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned any, I'm not tying any specifics, so don't read into it. But yes, of course.
Okay. So by that assumption, then the company that did buy Tint Wiz was not a film company.
That's right. Not a film company. And again, now, if you think about it, we're a technology company, right? We need, if we're going to sell, there's going to be reasons we're going to sell. We'll get into those, right? But like some of those reasons are a good fit for our company. And we are a technology company in the window film industry. So a good fit would be another technology company, a company that has a tech background so that we become a stronger technology company without having to have $130 million invested in us and risks. We just say, we're going to be part of a technology team. If we're part of a film team, in no way do I mean this in a weird way. They're a film company. So they have warehouses. They have rolls of film. They have physical products. And now you say, run a technology company. Well, we know that they can do it, but is that going to be their strength? No. So bad fit. So out of the industry had to be a fit.
So talk to me. I guess now we're in that realm of conversation. What happened? Like, what were the first steps, the first inklings? Did you get a call? Was it an email or a text message of this other company that was like, hey, we're interested in you? Was it we want to partner with you? Was it we want to buy you? You know, what was it like? You know, the first inklings of that relationship.
I'm laughing because I wish there was this moment where I could be like, oh, wow, this is like, I did it. No, this doesn't work like that. So remember going back to, I said, how many SEO ranking emails you get a day? That's how many private equity emails. So I had been seeing these emails, and at first I didn't even know what they were. I kind of ignored them. And then at a point, I started saying, let me read them. And about year 3 into Tint Wiz, year 2, year 3, I started taking meetings with some of them. And they would sign an NDA. They would want to know our financials. They'd want a general overview of our business. And then usually the question was, like, what would you do with an investment? How much are you looking for? And I'm like, you know, I'm exploring this email because you emailed me. I'm not really looking for anything. Like, and they'll be like, why are you looking to sell? I'm like, I'm not looking to sell. I was like, this is just a meeting. So I did that 3, 4, 5 times probably per year because I felt like I don't know who's right. I don't know why I'm even doing this, but I feel like it's important to have these meetings so I could learn. So I started learning from all these meetings. And when somebody hit me with a question I didn't answer for, I'd get that answer to the question for the next meeting kind of concept. So I started understanding that most of these companies were simply fishing for, we have access to money, you have a company, can we just simply pile our money on your company and then make money together? But most likely we'll be in control and so on. And I didn't want to put myself or the company in a scenario where, and it happens a lot, where you think it's going to go one way, and once you do it, basically the company has like they squeeze you. I don't want them to squeeze the customers. I don't want them to squeeze me. I want it to be like a proper process. And those companies just weren't a good fit because we weren't looking for money. Like, we were looking for proper teammates because money is actually accessible, right? But proper people to work with are few and far in between.
Yeah.
And so basically, this company that we ended up now being acquired by had contacted us about a year and a half prior to now. And we had a couple meetings. They felt like all the other meetings in the time. And I told the gentleman I was speaking with at the time, I said, can we just pause this? Let's talk in a year from now. Because remember, we were hiring Carrie full time. We were doing a lot of expansion.
What year was this?
This was now 2024. Early 2024, like March, February 2024. first spoke to this company, and my literal, like after a couple of meetings, I just literally said, I'm not going to talk to any of these companies for like a year, because I felt we were in such a good spot. Like we were moving the big ship in the right direction, and I wanted to fulfill that. We rebuilt our website, which kind of changed, I think, a big, like it changed our conversion, right? Our website kills it. And like and our conversion was good before, but like now we are like updated graphics and updated reviews, and like we put the coaching system in place, and like we did these things to like set ourselves up, and we're doing real great. And a year later, that company had contacted me back, and I said, well, let's talk, because it's a year later, and I told you contact me in a year. And we started going down that conversation, right? And what's different about this company than any other company was they weren't looking to strip it and flip it, okay? They weren't saying, we're going to buy this company, put them together, grow them, and flip them to somebody else. Because what happens is that you end up with like Burger King or Cheesecake Factory. The food doesn't taste as good for some reason. And I didn't want that to happen with us. This company said, we're a fintech company. We're a financial technology company, like a Stripe, like a Square. We've been around since 2018. They've built up over 2,000 employees since 2018. And their method of growth is acquisition of the leaders in each, like in a different, like a segment of the industry, of like the economy. So they'll take the leader and they'll buy either the leader or the top 2 leaders and say, let's now add our payment processing integration in there. And then let's, as a group of businesses, support each other to grow them all, because more growth means more value for everybody, / more payment processing, / more everything.
So now we're getting to the point where we kind of been dancing around. Who the hell was the one that bought Tint Wiz then?
So a company called...
What's his name? There's been this mystique around. We've been dancing around here now. It's like, that's it. I'm bricked up. I want to know.
Perfect. I'll say it and give me 60 seconds. So as I'm talking to them and we're going down and I'm finding more about them, I'm getting to have these weekly meetings and meeting them as people and finding more about. What I find out is, before the public found out, that they had acquired Urable. So Urable...
So this company, this mysterious company right now...
had just bought Urable.
Okay.
As I'm talking to them.
And you knew this?
I knew that when they told me. So in the middle of these conversations, they said, hey, have you heard of a company called Urable? And I said, of course I know Urable. He goes, oh, well, it's not public yet, but we just acquired them. And I said, you acquired Urable? He said, yeah. And he goes, is that a problem or anything? Or like, what do you think? I said, the leader in that, in the detail, that's the best one. I go, if you would have acquired anyone else, I would be concerned right now. But the fact that you acquired them gave me confidence, and I was transparent. I said, that's good. That shows me, like, hey, first of all, if they trusted, right? If Michael Abens and his team trusted this company, there's a little bit of like, all right, I can just trust them. But then beyond that, I go, okay, these guys are serious. And they went to the detailing space and said, we're going to buy the leader there. Now they're coming to the tint space and saying, we're going to buy the leader here. And I understood what they did in other acquisitions at that point. And now it started to make sense. So the company that purchased us is called Fullsteam, Fullsteam. And like I said, they've now acquired approximately 100 companies. And they're acquiring them faster and faster. And basically what that means to us now is we still operate as an independent company. We're Tint Wiz. I'm still as high as it goes. I still make all the decisions as far. But we're part of a group that is Urable and other automotive-related businesses they've acquired that work together as well. And then separately from there, each group is part of a bigger, obviously, overall portfolio that can work together as well. So
like to the end user, you know, I'm a Tint Wiz user. Like, what does that mean for me? I mean, because like, you know, there was concerns that people had about their information in the past. The information was stored, it was safe. Now there's you know, like new owners in town for it. What does it mean to the information that people have? Because now there's a new set of eyeballs to it. Cause for concern? What are we talking here?
So that's the great news, right? Is this is a company that has data that reaches far, far beyond Tint Wiz and the window film industry. They're not a data mining company. They're a payment processing company. So the worries of your data either being stolen or sold, I would feel should be significantly less, if not completely gone now, because it's with a company that, first of all, like our data, like we treated that, like it'd be easier for you to steal somebody's Bitcoin wallet than to get into somebody's Tint Wiz account. And now there's layers on top of that. Beyond that, I mean, there's privacy policies and there's ways businesses do business. And like, if they're not mining the data from 60% of the wine sales that run through the internet run through them, if they're not mining the data from when you go to Jiffy Lube, you're using their software. I just feel like when you go to Valvoline, you're using their software.
Yeah.
When you use Tint Wiz, you're using their software. I would say your data is as safe as it could have ever been. It's more safe than it could have ever been. There's no worry of this big bad film company coming in and buying the company and now using that to
Data
against you.
Yeah.
It's gone. Like that's
So
gone.
basically, like Fullsteam is a payment processor company. Their moneymaker is in the processing of the transactions.
It's like a Stripe or a Square. Exactly that. It's like a Stripe or a Square, but instead of knocking on your door and saying use Stripe, use Square, they're saying we'll buy the company that all the invoices go through, and then you should use
Right. So like,
this payment processing.
me bidding on a local Starbucks to them, that information for them.
It couldn't mean less. What they're excited about is when you sell that job and you send the invoice or you tap the new payment terminals we have coming out, that the payment processing goes through their payment terminals, that's it.
Okay, so then obviously the Tint Wiz wasn't sold because of the data. It was sold because of the volume of users and its success and its positioning
the volume
in the industry.
of invoices and it being a leader in the industry.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, that's interesting.
Yeah. So invoices and credit card processing is, when we said, I don't feel window film data is valuable. Credit card processing is one of the most valuable things in the world because it's so sticky. And like, if you can just get in there, it's obviously a transaction percentage. And, it's also something you want to be on the right side of things partnership wise. So like we were transacting a lot of volumes through there, and Stripe, you don't get an account rep. You don't get anything. You just like nothing. You support a support ticket and you hope to hear back. And like, is that what you want to do when you have, that level of business running through your software? Or do you want to have a partner that like they can, like when we talk about rates, when we talk about how it's going to go, the terms, it's like I'm involved in that. They're partners. Like we're partners.
So you're still CEO.
I'm technically
CEO of Tint Wiz.
VP. I'm vice president of operations, but there's no president, there's no CEO. So yes, I'm still the highest
position.
I'm still the highest position, but technically the title changed.
All right. So
just because I don't think the company has other CEOs, it only has one CEO, so they just keep it simple so it doesn't seem weird.
I see. So
see what I mean?
It's like a sub branch.
Because there'd be like 100 CEOs within the company.
Too many chiefs on the table.
Right.
So speaking of chiefs, how much was a moolah here? I mean, what did they offer? What was their second best offer? Because you never took the first offer, right? So what was their second best offer on it?
Dude, I don't even know what happened to me if I was to break that confidentiality agreement. They were very fair. And what I mean by that is they were very fair. They didn't try to twist my arm. They heard what I had to say. They heard how much I felt it was valued at. We found a place that we both agreed. And they came to terms that I felt were the most important. And I was transparent with them up front. It's not truly about like the final dollar amount. It's truly about the big picture, the terms, what this looks like. And like, this happened, for perspective, this happened in September. It's now February.
September 2025.
Right. It's now February. So
2026.
We're 5-6 months, almost 6-7, almost months, depending on when this goes out.
Doom.
So what I'm saying is like,
drink to that one.
Look, part of that too was like, I don't want to come out here and say, look, Tint Wiz was acquired 3 hours ago, and this is how the future is going to be.
Yeah.
Right? But I can say, look, I've been working with this company for 5 months. I've been talking to them for 6 months before that intensively. I've known them for a year and a half before that. And ma'am, things are going pretty damn smooth. And what I mean by that is we're working on like strengthening. Basically, we're able to now go in and fill all the gaps that maybe weren't my strengths, right? So we have a deeper understanding on analytics. We're hiring for development. We're hiring for support. We basically are able to say, hey, Eric, you're great at all these things. We don't want to change that. Can we fill in some gaps here? And that's where we're at.
So, I don't know, unless I missed that. I didn't hear a dollar amount.
Oh.
But basically, what you're saying is
I came in a Model 3. In a Tesla Model 3. So, like, I don't know. I'm trying to, like, put it in there. It was a good dollar amount.
I think
like,
if you came in a Land Cruiser, I would have been like, all right, this guy definitely sold in a...
That's what I got after Window Tint LA was the Land Cruiser.
Oh, there you go. So this is... Okay, well, look. You got some cash infusion, obviously. Got injected into the company.
A life runway. A runway like we did before. This is now a new runway to continue on.
Got it. So like a kind of like a breath of some fresh life going into it, but now it's setting.
It's like
you
you're
up
building a ladder, you're climbing a ladder,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you get a little platform. So you can
Yeah.
take a break for a minute, you stand on the platform, look up, and go, now I'm going even higher because I got this platform.
Yeah. And now maybe you're like what's the climber's name?
Alex Honnold.
Yeah. Now you're like Alex Honnold, going up even higher now.
I mean,
So-
look, I mean this when you say that is, that's what I'm looking at. Is I'm looking at all the future now
Right.
just opened up. It's like the thing popped off the roof, and now we can keep going higher.
So, I mean, I'm a Tint Wiz user, right? I've been with Tint Wiz for some time. When me finding out, like, Tint Wiz was acquired, okay, you explained to me why I shouldn't be concerned with my data. It's not going to go anywhere. You're still the highest position on Tint Wiz. Why do I care? How does this benefit me going down the road? I mean,
Okay,
like,
perfect. So-
Eric just got his new position, or Tint Wiz got a new owner. What does that mean for me?
So the way we ran Tint Wiz is consistency. When you click on it, it opens fast. It looks the way you used to it. The buttons are where they were, and it works the way you need it to, and it will 6 months from now. We're not the type to say, let's move things around and revise and whatever. And our price stayed consistent, our app stayed consistent. We always were consistently adding things, but we weren't adding crazy big things and this and that. It was staying real consistent. Now, that's great, but that also has its drawbacks, right? And one of our biggest critiques is people saying, where is the online scheduling?
Right.
And I had this feature request and it's not there and this and that. And like those are things where it's like, yeah, I understand. Part of the misunderstanding of how apps actually operate as a business is you think about the high profit margin, but the reality, what people don't understand is the amount of tech debt that builds up over years as you're building systems that you have to go back and fix, what the integrations take to maintain, how many user requests. When somebody says, I asked for this 3 months ago, where is it? What happens if 1,300 people asked for other things?
Right.
And you go, well, yeah, but what about this one? And you go, right, but what about if 13 other people that day asked for something? How do you do? And so what I'm saying is, this now says, I was never with Tint Wiz going to say, hey, we're going to get $1 million investment. I'm going to rent a space. We're going to fill it with developers. And if it goes good, it goes good. And because I was never going to do that. I was going to play conservative. We're going to be consistent. We're going to be who you remember and who you expect. And now it gives us a little bit of like support to where we go, hey, we can hire developers. And if we need money, well, we're backed by money. Or if maybe we're spread so thin we don't have the time to hire a developer, we can borrow a developer. And like that sort of thing. We can now look at our analytics and the certain analytics that we were having a trouble breaking down and understanding. We can work with your Able. Maybe they figured it out already. Their process of support and following up, where they're strong, they share with us now. And we can work together. So the idea is like, we're part of a team of the best in automotive spaces, and then as a larger team of the best in all the industries.
Yeah.
And that's attractive to me when I said I could be part of that team, meaning not only as a Tint Wiz user, but even outside of that, like I know how much I've learned in the last 5 months, right?
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
I believe that's going to trickle down to Tint Wiz. An example would be payment processing, right? We're talking about payment processing. We don't have a physical terminal. There's no physical terminal integrated with Tint Wiz. So like if you want to use Tint Wiz for payment processing right now, your option is for online invoices. But if you're in your store and you have somebody in Tint Wiz and you need to now charge them, you have to type it in somewhere and charge them, which I think is not a big deal. I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah.
However, now we have terminals coming out that are integrated. So when you're in Tint Wiz, you click send a terminal and they tap their phone and you're done. Every invoice went to the terminal, they tap their phone against it, it paid, it synced back, and you're done. Just like that, just a tap. And like, again,
It's a Tint Wiz Tintegration.
it's a Tint Wiz integration called Tint Wiz Pay. And then when it comes to like, well, what are the rates going to be? Well, the rates are going to be negotiable. So we're going to try and be the most competitive out there. But if you've worked out a better rate, you have the opportunity to sit down directly with us, bring your receipts, and we're going to see if we can beat or match that rate. And like, we can work things out.
So meaning like if I'm using Square and I'm under a certain tier,
Yes.
I could go to Tint Wiz and saying, can you match or beat this?
Yeah. Yeah, and you literally will have what to submit and what we need, and then you're going to hopefully get a very positive answer.
Where would I go? Like, if I have
Like that process?
Yeah, like what's the process for like a user that, hey, I've got this rate here. I want to get this rate with Tint Wiz. Do I send it in the live chat? Where do I contact?
The integration is completely built, tested, and certified.
Okay.
The way we roll it out hasn't been completely finalized, but we're trying to make it as simple as basically a button you click. We're trying to make it a switch to this pay, and it's like a one-click button. I'm trying to make it as absolutely seamless as possible.
Is that going to be something you do in the app itself?
Yes.
Like maybe, when you go to like the configurations and you can put in your bank account info, that type of stuff?
It'll probably be in integrations. We'll probably have a little alert at the top to make it like very in your face when it's available. And then we're also taking on beta users, which we built up a list. If you want to be a beta user for this, the way to do that is go into live chat. I want to be a beta user for the new payment processing. What comes with being a beta user is expect it not to be perfect, even so it should be, but that's the
beta.
anticipation,
You're
is you get to test it and you will receive perks and rates and things that won't be for everybody else because you are a beta user.
Yeah.
So now, like, why didn't we do this a year ago? Why didn't we do this 2 years ago? We should have did it with Stripe. We could have did it with Square. Why? Because do you do a Stripe or Square? What about Clover? How do you support them all? When they say they're changing their whole API, that could mean we have 2 months of rewriting some integrations and how things work with our systems.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Your year is going to that. You see what I mean? But now we're in a position where you go, well, they've done this 95 times before. There's
Right.
teams built
There's a
around
consistency.
there's teams built around every aspect of this. The physical terminals, the rates, the actual
for
integration for Fullsteam.
Yeah.
So like we're working with like it's
A
just
legitimate professional company that's done it over and over again.
over and over and over. And on top of that, let me tell you this. What's blown me away is they're going through this process, and they have been with You're Able, because they purchased them 3 months prior to us. And what's incredible to me is all along the way, they'll show me how they do it. They'll tell me how You're Able's choosing to do it, and they give me the complete option to do almost anything I want. That's the most amazing part. So even when it came to announcing this acquisition, I go, so should we announce it when it happens? Do we have to? And they said, oh, that's up to you. You can announce it. You don't have to announce it. You can announce it now or later. That's in your hands. And when it came to the payment processing and how that's going to work, it's like a lot of the decisions, it feels like all of them, frankly, maybe they're making me feel that way, but like I'm still in control and I'm still, but I'm with a team and I have people to rely on. And we're able to now make moves that maybe I didn't have either the confidence to do before, or because we didn't have that supporting, or I didn't want to shake the pot, stir the pot a little. And now it's kind of like that new level where we can go, we're going to take Tint Wiz to the next level. We're no longer going to be missing a couple things that people feel are, and we're going to be moving forward, growing as a company, and I don't see how everything won't continue to get better and better. And like, that's exciting to me.
Yeah.
You know? Because like, look, the truth is, year 3, year 4, you're making decisions, trying to plan a year in advance, 2 years in advance, but a lot of it feels like your hands are tight, because cuffed, because there's too many things already in place and happening, and you don't want to. And now it's kind of like, all right, let's go. We can do this.
Full steam.
Now it's full steam ahead. Exactly.
There we go.
And we have ideas, and we have new, like, integrations that I want to add in, or separate little things that could integrate, and all that. It's like we can do it now. Just we can do whatever. Not like flip a switch, but like it's like a new beginning in a way, a new chapter.
Well, dude, I don't know about you, but this coffee is getting a little bit watered down. I think it's we'll come back here shortly. We're going to come back with announcements on some of the upcoming changes for Tint Wiz users and what to expect, how to interpret them in a way, and we'll continue the conversation here shortly.
When we get back, could you just try to channel your inner troll on Facebook, and then come up with anything that you can think, like if you were just the ultimate troll on Facebook, what could you say? And can we make the next segment about that?
Oh.
Hit me with those questions, please.
You just unlocked this dude's brain by saying that.
Nod.
All right,
We'll
well,
go over there. We'll figure. Anyways, we'll be back here. We'll be back here shortly. So don't go anywhere. We'll come back. Squeegee that. All right. So what do we got here? I've never been here before. I'm not LA. You're LA. Ex-Window Tint LA. But now we're having a discussion in LA. So what's Beard Papas?
Beard Papas. I've had these in San Francisco, and they're basically a puff pastry filled with like a cream.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like quite a donut, but it's like a light, fluffy puff. It's Beard Papas.
Whoa.
Beard Papas. We got the original.
So-
we got a
holy
matcha. We got a
crap.
raspberry cookie crumble. We've
We
got,
got
a
a,
strawberry and cream.
We got a Grinch.
That's the matcha.
That's a monster.
That's the money green one.
Oh, damn. How many calories for each one?
Very, very few. Minimal.
Yeah, right.
They're like clouds of flavor.
Clouds of sugar, diabetes. Let's go. They're all these two are the same. It seems like.
You want to start with an OG puff?
Let's do it.
Are you ready to puff?
All right.
Cheers.
All right. Cheers. All right. You guys like, you got it.
It's a puff.
It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be, which
No.
is good. Because,
Right.
oh, dude, when things are too sweet, it's like, you know, the impending crash is coming. I was telling you earlier before, me adapting Tint Wiz has changed the way that I actually manage my own life now. Because when we started using Tint Wiz, we started utilizing the features like taking notes on projects so that if something comes up along the way, an admin who's not me can manage or handle it. For example, we're doing a car and I pulled panels and I put it back, and now the customer's calling back 3 days later because he hears a little bit of a rattle. Someone could look in there, and the way that we document our notes is like, oh, they pulled panels, it's probably a loose clip. I actually do it in life now. Like if I always say it, if you don't write it down, it never happened. So having a proper system to kind of document things down allows you to take on more, which is in essence the art of scalability. So, but anyways, so back on the Tint Wiz thing. So you discussed, you know, we went over the origins of Tint Wiz. The vehicle in which Tint Wiz was born, Window Tint LA, got bought out. Then Tint Wiz became much bigger, got a lot of attention. You had offers on the table, turned down all of them except for this one company that wasn't industry related called Fullsteam. They're a processor company that they are buying out other companies, and they combined power from those other companies, helps the entire ecosystem. Now, there's got to be a downside somewhere. I don't know, maybe. Like, what are some changes perhaps to the app itself? I know you mentioned features. Is there other things that are changing now? Or are you going to have multiple tier systems? Give me a little bit, like, you know, what are maybe some of the not so good things, or maybe they are good things? I don't know. Like,
Yeah. So, like you said, a lot of changes. The North Star with those changes is how do we add more value to the customers that we have, and how do we get more people to be our customer, right? So everything we're doing is essentially with that in mind. Now, one of the big requests that we had, you could call it a feature request, but we would hear often, I would pay more, but I want this in it. So that's
like,
something.
give me an example. Like,
Self-scheduling would be
Okay.
like a common one, but I mean, you really could apply that to a lot. I mean,
Right.
we've really heard that no shortage of times from many different dealers that will just say, like, they feel like Tint Wiz is underpriced at $100, and they're like, I would gladly pay more. It doesn't make a difference.
if they had-
and I also just want this thing.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of, like, we get if you can't do it for $100, but like maybe raise the price and do these other things. Like,
Right.
that's a general thought, and like that's something we're going to be able to make good on, is raising the price to do other things to provide more value to our users. So we do have a price increase scheduled. Now, it's not a price increase, right? It's a first price increase ever, right? In 6-7 years. So
you gotta add a sound effect to that thing.
I mean, but it is. It's like 6, but it's really 7 because it's 2026, but it was really 2019, so it's like 6-7 years.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Number 5, no. We'll be at 6 or 7 by the end of this.
Yeah.
No, but for real, we are planning a price increase. It's not a let's all get richer price increase. It's a what do we need to do to create the revenue, to create the resources to do the things we want to do. That's it. So there will be a price increase.
Company buys out Tint Wiz, and your first thing is going to be a price increase.
I know.
You just got buttered me up, and I'm excited. Now I'm like, a price increase.
It is. It's a price
gonna
increase.
get rich off this.
It's a you get what you pay for. You're going to pay a little bit more, and you're going to get a lot more. And then we're also, because like I said, this company, it's not like Fullsteam's like, this is what we do. They're like, how do you want to do this? What should we do? What do you think's best? And like, I'm actually like, look, when I said that they give a lot of control to me, the price increase was one, and the amount of the price increase is one. And I'm all for it because I actually understand how this is a good thing for the company. So is this like ideal in an announcement to be like, hey, look, the company sold, I'm sticking around, guess what, the price is going up? Because that's going to be the number one thing people, oh, the price is going to go up, right? Yes, the price is going to go up. But it's part of a new level of development, of company resources, and so on. So to me, I look at it like taxes. I live in California. I don't mind paying higher taxes for what I'm getting. Now, I don't want the money wasted, right? That's where we all can agree. We only don't want to pay taxes if we feel like those taxes are not being appropriated correctly. They're being misappropriated. And what I'm simply saying is this price increase isn't a new Ferrari for the CEO. This price increase is, as Tint Wiz, as an individual company that hasn't increased their price in 6 or 7 years, where money has gone in half value, and prices of everything have doubled and wages have doubled. If we want to be competitive in development and support, we have to move that price accordingly. So I was actually a proponent of the price increase and pushed for higher price increases because it's still nominal, right? Hypothetically, a $25 price increase is $25. A smoothie now costs $18, like for perspective. So what I'm saying is, I don't believe that price increase is going to actually affect anybody, but I know how much we're going to be able to do with that revenue. And that's what this is about. That price increase doesn't go into my pocket or anybody's pocket. It goes into the Tint Wiz budget, which is now applied and has been applied to the Tint Wiz development support. So I'm actually excited about the price increase, though I know there might be few people that join me in the excitement. I know how it's going to play out, or I believe I know how it's going to play out, and it's the right thing for the company.
I mean, like with the price increases, right? I mean, one could say, oh, he just wants to give out more tri-edges at events, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you want to give more candies, or maybe this, I don't know. But like, what's one of the features, your immediate feature, besides a pay integration? You know, having a pricing. Well, first of all, what's the price increase? Like, what are we talking about?
So most likely, we're looking at probably $25 price increase with likely a no price increase for the first year if you're using the payment processing as an incentive, right?
Yeah.
And now, do we need the price increase? Yes. So we need everybody to pay the price increase because we know what we can use that revenue to develop. Things like self-scheduling, advanced reporting, and just other features that I can't really throw out there because we do have competitors that will start developing as well. But, you know, like things like the cut optimizer, you know, to me is a game-changing, groundbreaking feature.
That was.
From start to finish with big gaps in between, it was like a 4-year project.
The cut sheet optimizer? Really?
Yeah.
So
you can find
2022.
Go to my first podcast with the Miller brothers, I think, my first ever during COVID, and I'm talking about the cut optimizer that I'm expecting to come out that year. You understand? It came out 3, 4. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But it came out quite later, and like my point is, like, some features take a long time. Some can be done overnight. You just throw a little bit of money at them, and now we're planning on trying to do more and the most we can. That's
so
it.
is the money the main obstacle for the speed of features?
Sort of. Let's look at it this way. First of all, I want to put it in perspective when we talk about price increase. If you're a tint shop that has not increased your prices since 2019, like Tint Wiz hasn't increased their prices, you're probably not doing well.
Oh, everybody's increased their
prices. You've had to, right? Now, if I said, I don't want you to increase your prices, you'd go, well, I don't know if I'm going to survive. Like, at some point, like, we're not going to be strong.
Everything's going up, right.
So, like, that's the mentality with this price increase, right? Like, this will make the company stronger. Now, to your question, is the money the issue? It's a mixture, right? Like, to hire a good developer, it takes a lot of money. To hire a great developer, it takes a lot of money. Now, to risk it, it's not like there's a line of people where you go, line of people, the door right there where you can get great developers. You don't know what you're going to get, and that developer might be $200,000, $300,000 a year. It could be more. It could be a project that costs you $75,000 for a 30-day project to build something. And what if it doesn't get built correctly and 1 month turns into 4 months? And so on. So money is one aspect of it. The next would be experience. Like, we have internal at Fullsteam now developers that are working on internal tools like a chatbot, for example. I hope that's allowed to say, but they're working on that internally because if they can build something internally that affects their overall portfolio, that's huge, right? And we can now be a beta tester with that. And these are ways. So like, we have the support and be able to say, hey, we need to hire a developer for this. Can you help us use one that you've used before, or somebody who works for you, and we move budgets around versus like big risk, right? Hire a developer, spend all of our time in managing and resources managing that developer, and then find out that developer screwed shit up and they suck and whatever. Not maybe suck, it's not so extreme. And then that's a year lost. And then what? Maybe you spend a year recovering. And then, see what I mean? You just don't go make these giant, it's like me telling you, like, you get interested in home remodeling. Your first step can't be rip your roof off. Because you're going to be like, bro, I don't know. It could go really well, but if it rains too soon, we could be...
Now we got floor problems.
So the money definitely gives us a lot of like breathing room from the price increase, but it's more than the money. It's the experience. It's the teams. It's the buck used to stop with me. Now the buck stops with a team of people who have more experience than I do and in different aspects than I do.
So you're like, it's expected to have more of an exponential growth.
Yeah.
So it's in the beginning stages. It had, maybe some of the features took longer to do. me as a Tint Wiz user, I could expect the features to be a little bit more faster. Now that you got access to a bigger team, you know, maybe it's not so much a price increase. Maybe it's more of a bigger contribution to improving the platform in which, you know, maybe like, because I ultimately, you know, there are certain expenses you have in business that are expenses, and it is what it is, like certain overheads. But then there's other expenses that are really investments. And this kind of feels more like, you know, the price increase is more of an investment because you're going to get more out of the software with the coming days, weeks, months, years.
It's a value add.
Yeah.
It's a value add, and I skipped over your question. I want to touch it. It was your original question.
Okay.
Was, what if you just send out more triages, send out less triages, and give away less candy, right? That's a fair argument. But the reality is the amount of money that we've spent doing those sort of things was very intentional, very calculated, and is maybe not as much as people think. Even so, we were intentional to pay full price anytime we could. We didn't get, that's just a thing. But like,
what do you mean by that?
I mean, like when we approach vendors like Tri-Edge, or we buy tanks from Tintozilla, or we do these partnerships, like I go in and say like, hey, we want to buy 30 tanks, we want to buy 10,000 Tri-Edge, we want to buy 75 tanks. What's your price? And that's the price. I don't say like, hey, we want to buy, can you give me a discount? Or hey, you're going to get promotion through Tint Wiz, so you should do this for less. We go out, we pay full retail price. If they have a wholesale list before us, that we'll pay a wholesale list, whatever, I don't care. But my point is, we didn't go out and ask for discounts, but we also didn't spend as much money as people think. That's part of effective marketing, is like perception, right? And yes, we got thousands of towels out there, and tens of thousands of Tri-Edges and so on. But what do you think? Like, do you think it was just endless money going? No, it's like calculated and timed and spent and so on. And it's also money spent in our industry. So you have to understand, everybody should understand that like we use like Jared and Jessica to run some ads for us. And it's like, that's money in our industry. Our first tools were with Tri-Edge, money in our industry. Our designs carry money in our industry. Like my whole thought with this was not necessarily just about how much we spend, but making sure it's spent within our industry to help somebody with a new tool get their tool out there, or somebody with a service get that service out there. So, you know,
that's a part that doesn't get talked about enough, honestly. It's like the, like, you know, I've seen some of the critics, the expert critics on Facebook that are seem to have all the time in the world to point out everybody else's problems. But I've seen a lot of them that'll say is like, oh, Tint Wiz is too busy sending out free stuff and this, that, or the other. Where I think it's not said enough, and it's not said loud enough, that Tint Wiz is supporting people in the industry that are doing something. So that, like you mentioned, the Tri-Edges, that's an industry-related company. You mentioned, so even other individual people who maybe have whether it's influencers, and I don't like using that term honestly, but you know, people that have an influence or an impact in the community, that you hire them to put them in there. And I've always said before too, I've said it in podcasts too, is like, you know, what you've done a lot is you've like, shout out to be who you needed. And you've been the person for a lot of people who they needed at the time. And you know, what we've seen with Tint Wiz is a lot of that reinvesting back into the community and into the culture, which ultimately strengthens the entire industry, I feel like. And, you know, perhaps, like I said, the price increase, you know, some people might feel a certain type of way about it, but if you're getting much better product, and if you're getting a much better software, the whole purpose of getting a software in the first place, it's an investment in your company. So to get more of it, it's like you're going to multiply whatever. It's a $25 maybe price increase. That may change. Now, is it a $25 hard fix increase, or is there benefits or perks that comes with it from that programs? Because you mentioned beta testing before.
Right. So we're looking at, likely that's going to be the price increase, right? And then if you're a early adopter, even if you're not in the beta stage, if you're just an early adopter of the payment processing, we're looking at hopefully like maybe the rest of the year, no price increase or whatnot. But that's one of the things we're going to be doing for the early adopters. It's not really like it's like we're looking at like, all right, we want everybody on payment processing. Can we get the terminals in their hands for free, right? Because do you want to buy a terminal? Who wants to buy a terminal? Well, they can vary. I don't know how much the terminals we're using, but like, I wanted to go with the first beautiful terminal we're integrating, because we're going to integrate many, is like full screen, has a receipt, tap to pay, has every feature you can possibly have, and it's just like a handheld, like iPad looking thing, iPhone looking thing. And my goal is, I want to see if we can get early adopters to get them for free. It's my goal. Now, I don't know how financially, I can tell you this, with certainty, if it wasn't for Fullsteam, there's no way we could do it for free. I know that for sure. Without Fullsteam support, there's no way we could be introducing physical terminals and covering the costs ourselves. So if we would have did this 2 years ago with Stripe, we couldn't have said, hey, sign up for integrated payment processing and get a free terminal. There's no way in the world we could have afforded that. With this is something I'm looking at, and it seems very reasonable. It'll be a promotional thing. After that, you got to buy them. But I want to get everybody that's a Tint Wiz user, I want to get them as much things for free as possible and show them our appreciation. But also, we're a business, and we have to bring in money so that we can stay in business. And I know that our users have no problem with that either. I know they understand that. The people who are usually the loudest voices with this thing are the non-users. And those non-users, I hope, will see the reality is if they had privacy and data concerns, those are now solved. If they had development concerns and features they wanted added, those should, you see a future of how that's going to be solved.